It's going to happen. Oh, we got the green light. It's going to happen.
Get those words!
Well, all that noise, you guys know what time it is. It's time for the Bid Nerds, your daily nerd out on the most interesting cars of the day on all the automotive enthusiast auction sites, including P-Car Market, Rad For Sale, Bring a Trailer, Cars and Bids, whatever other auction site happens to pop up overnight. They seem to be popping up constantly. Good morning, everyone. My name is John Polnik, along with my co-host over there, Michael Deeb. We are happy to have you here, and we are very excited for a big Bid Nerds day because we brought some talent today. That's not us. You know that we're not the talent. We don't know what we're doing. But the guy we brought in, wait till you get a little bit of this silky, smooth man voice that's coming up. Michael Deeb, how are you this morning?
Good morning, JP. It's hot as you know what here in San Francisco.
Nice shut up. I'm on the Las Vegas Strip right now. You know it's 120 degrees here. Not even kidding. That's how hot it got yesterday. We were breaking records. So
it was like 70 degrees last night, and everybody in the neighborhood had their windows open because with our windows open, we could hear all our neighbors across the street talking in their living rooms. It's crazy. When it gets like just a little bit hot here in San Francisco, people freak out. They don't know what to do. They're like, oh my God, it's hot. So weird.
You know, speaking of sticky, we've got a really, man, I don't even know how to intro this guy. He's like way so far above our level. We always joke how we don't know what we're talking about. We are the daily show that talks about all the automotive enthusiast auction sites. We get into the cars, we get into the weeds with these things, but don't take our advice. Never take our advice. Our third nerd today, you may actually want to take his advice. He does know a thing or two. This fella has been writing about Porsches for about a bajillion years. He's from 000. They have one of the best podcasts on the interwebs when it comes to automotive stuff. From Overcrest today, I'm giddy. I'm giddy like a schoolgirl. Are you ready for this voice?
Yes.
Kris Clewell, look at this guy. Hello, Kris.
Welcome.
Hey.
Oh my God, I feel like we're on talk radio.
I'm a bajillion years old, but I sound great. That's good.
Yes, you do.
That's good. Yeah.
Man,
Kris, tell us.
My earballs are just warm and fuzzy right now in a good way. I don't know what to do.
We'll
Kris,
talk more after the show.
Tell our audience of three that are uninitiated what the Overcrest moniker. What is that all about?
It made me think of when I was trying to think of a name for the podcast. I was like, you try to think of something clever and everything sounds dumb. And I remember I was playing like Dirt 3 or Dirt 2 or something like that. And the little announcer, you're driving around your little car. And the announcer's like, 9 left, 4 left, Overcrest. I'm like, boom, that's it. Because like you get like Overcrest is like, you're kind of getting, we do a lot of news on the podcast, automotive news, and obviously guests and adventures and all that other stuff. I was like, Overcrest, we're kind of giving people a heads up of what's coming. And it's kind of stuck.
That's awesome.
Fantastic. I mean, it's funny how video games kind of infuse their way into society in ways that we never really think of.
Oh my goodness.
You know what that's a good segue into? Because we're going to come back to Kris, but I just can't think of a better segue into our sponsor. We have our sponsor is so freaking awesome. They are the makers of GYS Customs bracelets. These things are freaking awesome. Kris, have you heard of these? Have you heard of this GYS Customs bracelets?
I have not. I have a $20 Timex on right now. So
that's awesome.
A little out of my wheelhouse.
She would make a bracelet to match that watch. She makes a bracelet to match every watch and car imaginable. She makes paint to sample beads. And her logo there, the GYX, that's how you spell guys in her branding world. But that logo is, I think it's called Diedrich or something like that. It's some kind of logo from a video game. Forgive me for not knowing which one it is. So you see that? I tied the video game thing together there.
GYS get in trouble for not knowing that.
Yeah, GYX. That's GYS_Customs on Instagram. That's the only way you can get one of these. You got to go to her Instagram page, DM her, tell her what car or watch you'd like a bracelet to be designed to match, and she will create something specifically for you that no one else in the world will have. Father's Day is coming up. up. So get on that, man. Get the coolest gift you can possibly imagine. All right. Let's get back to Kris and not video game stuff. What is going on? Where are you? You are in a really cool spot.
I'm in, here or like in general? Here, this is the Overcrest studio. This is where we record the podcast and hang out, where I work and write and listen to records and stuff like that. But I'm in Minneapolis, which is probably almost as hot as where you guys are. I know it doesn't seem like that's true.
Yeah, the whole country.
But
bathing,
we get, absolutely. Maybe you said you were in Vegas, and you're like, oh, it's like 120 degrees, and you're not far from Death Valley.
Yeah.
And I remember driving through there in my 911 at like 9:30 in the morning. I'm like, I'm gonna try and get through here early. And it was brutal.
We've done that.
It was summer. I was in my 911 with a broken thermostat, driving like 50 miles an hour was the fastest I could drive because the car was going to leave.
No!
I picked up some hitchhikers and jammed them in the back of the car with the roll cage. They looked so hot. Like they're just in Death Valley with huge backpacks of water on them. They just looked so hot. I just like crammed them in the car and drove like 40 miles an hour.
This sounds like the backdrop.
With these dudes.
The backdrop for a horror movie. That's awesome, man.
I've picked up hitchhikers a few times. It's worked out so far.
They didn't look in the back and see the roll bar and go, hey, we'll walk. They didn't. I mean,
oh, well, they've been passed like 6 times because who's going to pick up a hitchhiker in Death Valley?
Yeah.
These guys look legit though. Like they had the little hiking sticks or whatever they are.
They're European.
Like, if you're faking it, that's a long way to go to have the hiking stick, right? There's like you can kind of have the backpack, you can kind of have like the Birkenstocks or whatever they would wear. And then you have the hiking stick is like the ultimate. They're not faking it because they're like,
JP and I are from coastal cities where we wouldn't even make eye contact with a hitchhiker, and you can tell that Kris has got Midwest sensibilities. He's like, oh, look at these poor hitchhikers. I'll just throw them in the back of my race car and help them out. Like JP and I are like, not today, suckers, and just ride on by.
Oh man, can't leave them to die in Death Valley. That's no good. That's no good.
Yeah, and have them sweat on my interior of my Porsche? Like, no way.
Well, there's no seats in the back, so the guys were literally just sitting in the firewall, which is on fire. It was just so hot back there.
That's
and the guys,
awful.
he's got like a backpack like this. He's got one on his back and one like
such
here.
A great visual.
I couldn't even shift into 5th gear because this guy's backpack was so out of control.
Oh my God, that's really funny.
Hey, Kris, I've been watching your work and admiring for many years. I remember a story, and I can't remember what magazine you were contributing for. I don't know, it was Total 911 or one of those ones. But you bought your first SC and then drove it home across the country. Do you remember that article?
Yeah, I do. That was for, I think that was for probably Total 911. I think.
That sounds right. Yeah, and I remember. Look, so I've been making ad content and obviously been a Porsche fan for a long time as well. But that article really spoke to me. You were always one of those guys that was like, all right. You see these magazines ads, and they're always some story about the most baddest ass, most amazing, most rare car. And here's a guy writing an article about, I think your car cost like $8,000 or something like that. It was back when they weren't worth anything. And you were honest. You were talking about how this isn't an expensive car, but it's all the money in the world for me. And it was just everything. So cool. You were a real person driving cars that I could relate with. And I just want to shout out to you and say thank you for
everybody
for
puts these cars up on pedestals, and everybody sees these things as unobtainium, right? And at the time, currently they kind of are, but at the time they weren't.
Yeah.
And it took me a long time to work up to getting that car. It started out with like a $250 Volkswagen Rabbit. And sitting in a field that I saw on the way to the cabin like 10 times, and I pulled into the guy's yard. I'm like, I'll give you $100 for it. He's like, how about $250? I said, great. And I pulled the car home and swapped the motor out, and it was single stage paint, so I rolled the buffer over it and got it like super shiny. Ended up selling that one for like $4,500. Bought a Scirocco for like $5,000, and the 180 engine, and it was like chrome yellow, which is signal yellow in Porsche speak. It's a cool car. I bought that from a buddy from $5,000. Sold that for like $10,000, and then I had a Caddy that I bought that I put a TDI motor into and sold that for $8,500. I think I got the Caddy and the Scirocco switch back and forth. But it was like all these cars, and so when I was finally ready to just, I'm like breathing heavy with this money, right? Oh my God, this is the most I've ever spent. I'm still renting, right? I'm still renting. This is easily, like bar none, the most I've ever spent on anything.
Extravagant.
The car ended up being It was 11,500 for like a mint SC with a
Mm-hmm.
brown interior with turbo seat or with the big bolster seats, turbo seats or whatever they are.
Yeah.
This thing was like awesome. And I got it. I was so excited. I got it. And the first thing I did is go, wow, there's no oil in this thing because it was cold in the oil. So I like started like jugging oil in there to like drive home. Oh my God. And it's smoking all over the place. But I got the car home and it had like a whale tail on it that I took off. And of course, there's like screw holes in the deck lid, but I didn't care. I got rid of the whale tail, and we pulled the valve covers off, and head studs fell out, of course. And that's kind of where the rebuild everything started.
Oh my God!
You have to.
You've hit every cliche.
Awesome.
You've hit every cliche along the way on this one story. I mean, it's amazing. The Volkswagen to Porsche graduation, and everything that could go wrong with an early 911 did. I mean, that's perfect. You were bathed in the fire.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was my, I've built a lot of Volkswagen engines and they're simple, right? You just unbolt the cylinder head, you give the cylinder head to a guy and go, hey, do some like metal machining type things on this. And then you get it back and you put it back on and you're like, that's it. It's done.
Yeah. Do you have any tools that vibrate?
yeah, exactly. And just the Porsche stuff is so much different.
Yeah.
All of a sudden my buddy Aaron at Flat Six, a great shop here in Minnesota, kind of was like, okay, you got to slow down a little bit. This takes a little bit more effort. It's going to take a bit more money, which oh my God, did it take a bunch more money? So we ended up doing a top end job on that car. And I ended up selling that, since this is like a bid for sale type thing we got going on here. I ended up selling that car for $25,000. So I bought it for $11,500, put maybe $6,000 or $7,000 into the engine. And it was right before the market was kind of like, holy shit, Magnus Walker's video came out, and like a year earlier, and things were starting to kind of really starting to churn, and 911s were undervalued for so long, and then all of a sudden everybody had an epiphany that they were cool cars or something. And I sold the car for $25,000, and it went to Switzerland or something. The guy was just gone. It went to Switzerland.
That's really cool.
I sold the car because it was just too nice. It was too nice of a car, couldn't modify it, and then I ended up with the car I have now after selling that one.
Right.
Wow. Well, okay, so the car you have now is the one you've had since. I didn't realize that this car you've had in your life for that long. That's awesome.
And what is it exactly?
Yeah, it's been 9 years. It is a 1972 911T, and when I got it, it looked like a Carrera RS clone without the flares. It was, if you ever seen R32, like an R32 Black Magic Pearl paint, like a Mark IV, like a 2002 or whatever, that's the color it was. It was bass boat. It said Carrera down the side. Carrera RS had chicken wire in the ducktail. Had a RS front bumper, but with chicken wire in it. But I knew that it was Albert Blue, and I was like, I'll figure it out. I'm gonna get this car sorted out. I'm gonna make it Albert Blue someday. But the first thing I do is shit can the ducktail, because a narrow body car with the ducktail doesn't really work for me. Right. And without RS flares, and it said Carrera RS for it. I'm in Pennsylvania at my buddy's house, with a heat gun, peeling all the stickers off and everything, trying to de-uglify this car as much as I could. But it was a perfect candidate for me because it wasn't too nice. Didn't have the original motor anymore. Had a 3-liter SC engine, which I later blew up trying to drift an on-ramp. And it was a good base to go forward to build a car that could just be anything I wanted. And nobody could say anything, because who gives a shit? The original motor's gone anyway. Yeah. It's just a T. Who cares? Just do whatever I want.
Well, that's awesome.
Well, like Deeb said, you were born in the fire of Porsche, and you've gone through all the trials and tribulations, and you know your stuff. Let's see what you know about values of cars and not just Porsches, because that's why people tune into this show. All 3 or 4 of them. This is Bid Nerds. If you're just now joining us, make sure you hit the subscribe, like, and notification buttons. All that fun stuff. You know what to do. Look, what we do on this show is we dig through Bring a Trailer, P-Car Market, Rad For Sale, Cars and Bids, and we, there's hundreds of cars for sale every single day, cars that will close their auctions right now. It's happening as we speak. And so what we do is we whittle it down to the most interesting cars of the day, because there's so many cars. You just get lost in all these cars. So we just whittle it down, and we dig through all these cars so you don't have to. And I think one of the most fun parts of this show is showing just how much Deeb and I really haven't learned a dang thing, because we always start every single episode by going over our price predictions from the day before, because every single car we talk about, we do predict or attempt to predict what we think the cars will sell for when the auctions close. So let's go ahead and get to the cars. Michael Deeb, yesterday we had kind of a weird mix, and we had some odd platforms that we don't usually talk about.
We did.
Collector's car or Collector's Exchange.
Yep.
Yeah,
and MB Market. Two new players in the on the online auction scene. And before we start, we have to thank again Matt Crandall from Portland, Oregon, up at Avant-Garde Collection, joined us as a third nerd yesterday. And believe it or not, I mean, I don't know Matt personally, but I've transacted with him before. When I was at Godden, we bought a car for Gary's collection from Avant-Garde Collection. I dealt with Matt like on the phone and through email, and the car arrived and it was spectacular. They are really serious car guys. Matt is a great person, and I'm happy that we got him on the show. It was an honor to work with him. Yesterday, JP, our first car of the day was on Collector's Exchange, which is really a brand new platform. I think they've been at it for like, JP, we're talking 6 weeks. They are brand new, and already they have run out of patience with the bid nerds because yesterday, while Matt and I were carrying on about the attributes and how beautiful this 2002 Ferrari 360 Spider with a gated 6-speed manual is, you were having troubles dealing with the platform. And by the time we got to the end of this car, you were like, we're done with this dog meat platform. We're not going there again. JP, just to summarize, our car had relatively low miles. I think it was like 22 or 26,000 miles. It did have the gated shifter. And, you know, 360s are kind of like the last sort of gated manuals to really take a big jump. Believe it or not, our car yesterday did really well, made us look bad. I said $92,000. JP, you came in at $94,000. And Matt Crandall came in as the high guy on $95,000. Believe it or not, our car sold yesterday for $117,000 on Collector's Exchange, which is an impressive number for a 360 manual. Even a Spider, I should say. That number would make a lot more sense to me if it were a coupe, but to see a Spider up near 120 was impressive. One thing I noticed as I was going back and looking at the results, and I'll send this over to you, Kris, is that when the bids come in on Collector's Exchange, JP, and I know we're not going back to them, but when the bids come in blind. There's no bidder handle, so you don't know if you're bidding against the same guy or not, which I think is really weird and a shortcoming of their site. In any case, they've got a lot of bugs to work out before we give them another chance. So, Kris, what is your quick take on the 360 Spider, especially one with a gated manual? And then maybe a word from you on the relative values to, you know, with what we see with Porsches and Ferraris is that the coupes bring more than the Spiders, which is the opposite of almost every other brand and make of iconic sports car in the world. So what are your quick thoughts on that?
I think that, you know, when you look at Ferrari, that's such it's like a numbers game. There's so much less Ferraris out there than there are Porsches. So there's always gonna be more money involved there. I think this car is, you know, beautiful, obviously. It's not for me. I don't like gated shifters. I find them incredibly annoying. They get in the way of driving. You have to think, maybe it's just because I'm not used to it, but It's something you're like, okay, I don't want to blow this thing up. So is it easy to blow up? Is that why there's a gated shifter? Is it assuming that I'm an idiot that I need to have this here? It's just not for me.
That's so funny.
That would be a correct assumption with the normal bid nerd hosts, that we are, in fact, idiots and need that kind of crutch. Look, this platform sucks. And it's great that they brought lots of money in here. But, you know, trying to get it. And that's why
we're burning bridges.
That's why I made the bid that I made. Look, I think I said on the show yesterday, I think this is a $120,000 car if it's on BAT or something better. But this particular platform, I mean, it brought the money. It brought pretty much what it's worth, and so good for them.
That's a high mark for a Spider.
Yeah, it's just a really lousy platform. It's hard to navigate. It's got some funky things. I think if you're new to this game, don't try to reinvent the wheel. You're not smarter than everyone else. Just copy BAT and do some different branding on there, and do better marketing. Because I don't know how people are going to even know about this. But what else did we talk about yesterday?
So, JP, we'll jump over to BAT, and we'll put Kris to the test right away to find out how dyed-in-the-wool a car guy he is with this 1993 BMW 325i Touring with a manual transmission and cloth sport seats. Yes, see, I knew it. This car, JP, you and I have covered some off-model sort of gray market 325 specials, including a few wagons, 18s and 6s. But this car seemed to be probably one of the cleanest ones. Despite having 255,000 kilometers, this car looked to be in very good, very original condition, save for the tinted windows and the aftermarket wheels. And the original set of mesh wheels was included in the sale. So I would have to say that the condition and the rarity of a six-cylinder wagon on our shores with a manual would make this car pop. And so I said 25,000. JP, you were a little higher on the car at 29, and Matt Crandall came in at 23,500. I happened into a Yahtzee. This car sold for $25,000. Kris, since you know these cars, what do you think of that valuation on BAT?
I think it's the fact that the big thing about, well, I just saw rust there. That's unfortunate. The problem is that rust is on the hatch, and when I had mine, I replaced my hatch with the last hatch that was available from Germany. So I don't.
Got it. Yeah.
You're not replacing that in there. The good thing about this car, one of the reasons why I probably went higher, is it's left-hand drive. A lot of the cars that get imported from England, and they're right-hand drive, which is an absolute nightmare. Everybody's like, "Oh, sweet, right-hand drive! It's going to be unique and fun." It's not.
No, it's a hassle.
It sucks to drive around, and you have to have like one of those little grabber things that old people have to get stuff off the shelf to like go through the drive-through, and you kind of grab the bag with the thing and like pull it over and put it in your seat. It's not good. It's not good. Plus, you find yourself driving down the middle of the road because you're subconsciously on the opposite side of the car, and as you drive, all of a sudden you place yourself on the left-hand side of the lane, and then you're like, oh shit, I'm an idiot, I'm driving down the middle of the road. So it's no good. So that's one of the reasons why I think this one probably went for more.
JP,
obviously manual transmission helps too. A lot of them are autos.
JP, one of the greatest takes ever on Bid Nerds was the argument against right-hand drive on how difficult it is to reach for your bag in the drive-thru. I love it.
I found the solution.
That's amazing. Yes. And it was in an old folks home.
I can't imagine the expression on the. I've tried taking a right-hand drive car through a drive-through, and it's a fun experience. You got to do it at least once in your life, just to see their face at the Starbucks. They're just like going, what? That's crazy. Not good enough. All right, what else did we talk about yesterday?
Doug DeMiro's site Cars and Bids had a 2016 Jaguar F-Type R. I think I picked this car solely on the fact that it was black with red leather sports seats. Add to that it had their biggest motor, the 550 horsepower supercharged V8 with 500 pound-foot of torque. Our car did have 32,000 miles on it, but it looked to be in really, really nice condition. And then I went ahead and got it way wrong. I said $63,000, and then you said 55, and Matt Kendall said 51, and he owns one. And I knew I was in trouble when he gave his bid, and he's one in his garage. Our car sold yesterday for $49,750, which leads me to proclaim what a great value these cars are. So anyways, Kris, any experience, any seat time at all behind the F-Type R? Is it like RIP? No.
I think it's funny to hear you go say, yeah, it's in really nice condition. Like it better be. It's like a brand new car. The thing better be every minute.
Absolutely.
How many miles did it have on it? Like 4 miles?
32,000 miles. It was driven.
Yeah. Okay, someone drove it a little bit. Yeah, but still damn nice.
Thank you.
It's funny.
Katie, what do you think of that result?
Yeah, cars that are only a few years old, you expect to be in perfect condition. But if you've ever spent any time at a car lot, you see that is not always the case. This car really is gorgeous. I think it's the best thing that Jaguar has done. Little Freudian slip there. If this were a coupe, it would be worth what you said there, Deeb. I think the 60s would make sense, but the fact that it's a cabrio and the cabrio-phobe factor holds it back from a value point of view.
Amazing.
Color combo is awesome.
Yeah,
it is,
really
right?
Is, right?
I'm all about the red.
It's hot. If it were a manual one, I think it would also bring that money. And I learned something yesterday that apparently they did make a manual V8. I was not aware of that. I thought they only made a manual V6. I don't know what year range. It's not all of them. This is a pretty neat car. But
the big question is whether or not they made a manual V8 that's two-wheel drive, because all their highest level, the R's are all all-wheel drive, which I think is kind of a bummer. But whatever. Nobody's.
Well, when you're on Rodeo Drive, you don't want to be like drifting into anything, so it's got to be safe for the lady that's driving it, picking up shoes or whatever they're doing.
That's exactly right. If those were rear-wheel drive, they'd all be facing the wrong way. I mean, for sure. Okay, so we introduced a new platform yesterday, and I'm sad to say I don't know how many times we'll go back to them, but MB Market is now open for business, and they've probably been at it as long as Collectors Exchange. So we are seeing, you and I have been joking, JP, since we started that. There's new sites opening all the time. Well, here's another new one that is at the moment exclusively Mercedes-Benz products. So they had for offer a 1998 Mercedes-Benz SL 500 with like 96,000 miles on the odometer. Silver with black. AMG wheels, but not an AMG Sport Packet car. And you just sort of have to wonder where this car is going to go. So I said $12,000. JP, you thought it might not break 10. And so you said 9,900. And then I had kind of stole Matt's bid. So he added 750 to his and went 12,750. Our car sold for $11,850, putting me about $150 away from a Yahtzee, my second Yahtzee of the day. That would have been amazing. But anyway, I got that win. JP, just really quickly tell the audience what you thought of their new platform.
Don't like it.
There you go.
Tough man to please.
Oh, I know, right? makes you think Rochelle's a saint, right? Like Mother Teresa.
Yeah.
I used to have a car that I had a C43 AMG that recently sold on this website. And I think it sold for $12,000 or something like that.
Yeah,
real similar engine to this car, but honestly, if you're going to buy one of these, just buy the V12, right?
You think?
Well, they're soft and they tend to be problematic. I think you want to be friends with the Mercedes tech before you venture down the V12 road. I wouldn't endorse that. The V8 really has a ton of torque, and they're great driving cars. I don't know that I wouldn't endorse getting the V12 as exotic as it is. That could be a money pit.
Yeah, this car,
It's true.
Yeah, good point. I don't know. I mean, these are pretty darn reliable. I mean, that V8 engine is solid as can be. I'm shocked by this number. That's a really strong number for a new platform. This it's not a sport version, so it doesn't have the ground effects kit that I think makes them look a little bit nicer. But that's an opinion thing. I think this is kind of a bland car, and
JP, you just made a really good point there, because if we think 117 is strong for Collectors Exchange and nearly 12 grand is strong for MB Market, are we getting to the point of mass adoption by the consumer that the more obscure site doesn't have to fight that it's an obscure site because people will pay market value for these cars even on the weird platforms? I mean, is there something to that, or are we just still hypothesizing because we're still in the infancy to this movement?
Well, you got to have an audience. You got to have people in the room to bid against one another. I mean, we've all seen the cliche with an auction. It's like you just need two guys in the room to go at it, against one another. Well, if you only have one guy in the room, it's not going to happen. So I don't know how these sites are getting the word out. I mean, here it is, a couple of jerks on the internet bidders. We're just now talking about them. Kris, have you heard of it? You've obviously heard of this site.
Yeah, I've heard of it. The thing is that I think you have a lot of people. There's guys that are looking for specific cars. So if a guy's looking for this car, he's just going blah 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 for sale. He's typing into Google, and this will pop up. Google will serve this auction to that guy. But you also have a lot of guys that I think discover their shop. Like if you're on Bring a Trailer, they're scrolling through, going, "Oh my God, I didn't even know that," and then maybe they buy the car. So those are the two different ways that I think people are finding something. And the latter is probably what something like this is going to have trouble finding. Plus, you're kind of pigeonholing yourself being a one mark only auction site.
Yeah,
you're not going to get a guy that's looking for an M5 suddenly stumble upon your SL 500 and go, "Oh, well, I guess maybe I'll have that instead," because it's all one thing, which is kind of
right. P-Car Market was struggling to get their piece of the pie, and then they relaxed their P and just went to market with Ferraris and Jaguars and everything else, and now they're actually doing pretty well. And
I actually talked to those guys yesterday because I'm selling my E39 M5, and they called me and told me about their platform and stuff like that. I'm trying to figure out where to sell this car, so I talked to them for a little bit. They were nice guys.
Very nice guys.
Yeah, they will get on you to get your car on there. What do I have to do to sell your car today? It's the opposite of the old used car sales trope of trying to sell you something. Good luck. So just so you know, Kris, I have sold a car there. I did not fare well with them, but I don't think that's necessary. I mean, who knows? It's up and down with them, and they're becoming more and more consistent. Although just the other day we had some weird. I still can't figure out their. The algorithm just doesn't make sense when it comes to P-Car Market, and we've talked about that a lot on the show. I definitely think they're getting better.
Only thing more difficult to predict than P-Car Market's results is the weather. So
yeah, right. And let's see here. All right, so what else did we talk about yesterday? We had
one last car, JP, on BAT for Volkswagen fans. I couldn't help myself. Despite being an automatic, I saw this 1992 VW Cabriolet Karat with a 1.8 liter triple black with the leather seats and the teardrop wheels. I know this car is garbage, but I am such a dyed-in-the-wool Volkswagen fanboy that I was like, let's just see what happens here. So I bid with my heart yesterday, Chris. I'm not a complete idiot. I knew my number wasn't going to reach, but I said 6,500 with my heart, not my brain. JP was much more pragmatic. He said $5,000. And Matt Crandall said 4,900. Our car sold yesterday for $5,250. Just so you know, it did have like 135,000 miles on it. It was in fair condition, but it looked like it had an older, crappy repaint. It was just whatever. If it were a stick, maybe it would have seen 6,000 or something. But anyway, this car was an automatic. It's not really going anywhere. But God, I see those 4 headlights in the square box, and I'm like, oh, it reminds me of high school. I just love it. Bitch bucket,
the best
but
thing
I love
about that car is cutting the core support off and putting it on a GTI or something like that. That car is a parts car.
It really is.
There's nothing good. There's no redeeming quality for me on that.
Yeah,
especially with an automatic. It's such a nightmare to swap that over to a manual too. It's all kinds of stuff.
Oh man, yeah. So JP, Matt Crandall got 2 of those things right. Ultimately, you scored 3 to my 2, but I did have a Yahtzee. It was all around a very even day, despite us all being way off on the Ferrari.
Do you guys keep track of this long term? Like, is this like golf? Do you guys know over the entire period of time who's winning?
When we start hiring interns that work for free and indentured servants, we have a lot of data that we will culminate, but we're waiting for a real, like we have a sponsor at heart.
Yep. Sure.
But when we get a real sugar daddy that throws some checks around, yeah, we'll spit out a lot of data based on what we've got.
There it is, guys. Every Bit Nerd result since we've been doing this. There'll
be a lot of data to crunch when we have somebody that has the time to do it. That's like
I'm thinking about like the Top Gear thing, where like as a guest, I'm a competitive guy, so I want to be better than all the other guests.
Oh, this will be good.
Yeah,
like
throwing it up on the what is it, the celebrity in a reasonably priced car or something like that.
Sure, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
I like that. That's a good idea. No, at some point we'll add graphics on here and we'll say, all right, here's the number and all that kind of stuff. But this is a low rent show. We're not fancy Minneapolis folks with all your studios and stuff like that. No, the Price is Right.
The most money that we invested in the entire show is in front of each of our mouths.
yeah, for sure. Got to sound good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, okay, guys. So if you're just now joining us again, hit the subscribe, like, and notification button. You can listen to the show on Spotify and podcast, all the normal places for audio podcasts, which is probably the better way to do this, because why would you want to look at us? It's pretty awful. We do have links to all the cars that we review in the information section below, so you can just listen to us, and you can click through the cars and look at the pictures yourself, because the pictures on this screen don't always show up quite that well. Again, hit that notification button, because this is a live show. We do this Monday through Friday at 9 o'clock Pacific time. And here's the thing, YouTube doesn't populate our show after the fact for a couple of hours. So if you don't have the notification button clicked or smashed, as Deeb likes to say, you're not going to know that there's fresh new nerds there. You're going to have old stale nerds from the day before. You want the freshest nerds available. Now let's get to the cars that are going to sell today. This is the most interesting cars of the day on all the automotive enthusiast sites. So let's get to it. Deeb, I think look, this is a Porsche show.
I know which one you're going to do, yeah.
Oh, really?
This thing is amazing. Yes, I do.
Well, which one is it?
Crystal balls. It's the 1994 911 Turbo S 3.6 X83 package Flachbau.
I looked up what Flachbau,
really?
Like, I know it means slant nose, like that's how we conventionally know it, but I did the literal translation is a low-rise building. Yeah. So this 911 is mid-century modern. It's just a one-story. Yeah. It's just it's a Rambler.
Let's have a conversation about German word translation.
Oh my
for
God,
anybody that knows Der Fascination, all the Germans call me every other day to tell us that it's the wrong article for that. But anyways, moving on.
The first event I did when I was the classic manager at God and Porsche was the Fart to Fire Rally. So here we go. All right, out of Sholo, Arizona. And JP, before we even jump into this car, Since you didn't know, which really surprised me, your father having lived in Arizona, I assumed you were new what Show Low is. Show Low is 170 miles to the northeast of Phoenix, about a 3-hour drive. So from Show Low, Arizona, and this is like the third car we found in Show Low, population 10,000 people. So there's got to be some guy in Show Low that is bringing some really nice cars to market. Is a 1994 unobtainium 911 turbo 3.6 with the Flachbau. The slant is polar silver. This car is 65,000 kilometers, being from Japan. It's in kilometers, but the car has that's essentially 46,000 miles on it. When you get this kit, obviously you're getting the big 3.6 motor. You're getting that really trick and one of just a handful with the slant nose treatment. But the racing buckets are really trick. The 18-inch speed line for Porsche wheels are really sick. These cars came with dual exhaust, and there's a discrepancy between some of the cars for parts of the world and some of the cars for the North American market. I think particularly the Canadian cars had dual exhaust but single outlets. This car, I think, looks like an American car in that it has dual exhaust with twin outlets. Really trick discrepancy there. This car does have the certificate of authenticity. It shows that it is a model delete car, so that model designation was shaved off the back at the factory. It did not, it wasn't done like that. So the big thing here, when I looked at this ad, JP and Kris, is condition. And these paint meter readings are all over the board. And so
never bring one of those anywhere near me. Get that device away. I don't ever see one of those near one of my cars. No.
It's just so weird. I love full transparency, but when you're looking at a trophy car like this, I almost feel like the big collector would just rather not know and buy the car blind, even if it has bad paint, because he wants to own it so bad. You're giving him a reason to lowball you or walk away from your lot. I actually think this is a mistake. And I know that I sound like a salesman when I do that, but I think that paint meter readings are going to hurt the valuation of this car. This car's got 46,000 miles on it, so it's been driven. Some of these were put away and they have 4,000 to 6,000 miles on it. But this car could show 650 to 800 grand. That wouldn't surprise me. But I think this one here with the high miles and the bad paint meter reading, I think that's going to hold it back. So, Kris, what do you think? Obviously, you don't like the sight of that device. What do you think about this model, and what do you think about the condition versus the value?
I would rather, as a guy who's going to drive a car, mileage doesn't really matter to me as much as it does. Is it in good mechanical condition? Has it been maintained? That kind of stuff is more important to me. And when you see the really low mileage cars, they're not driven enough to have been maintained in the first place.
That's
so you
exactly
always end
right.
up with, if you're going to end up driving the car, I would rather have something like this that's got a little bit more miles on it. I honestly didn't know that they made slant noses out of a 964. I didn't know. I had no idea. I don't think it looks as good as an impact bumper slant nose does. I'd rather see an older one. I think they look a little bit better. I think it seems, especially with the round front bumper, it just doesn't look great to me. But for someone that wants a rare Porsche, which is for some people, that's all it takes, is that, well, I've got one of, there's only 10 of these. I've got one. So that's enough for some people. For me, there's a lot more to it than that.
It's a weird combination of 80s and 90s because typically with 964s, I mean, the cheese graters on the side and the box
that's
rockers,
not common.
It's odd with 964. I mean, you've seen a lot of people putting 964 front and rear bumpers and stuff like that. It just doesn't. I don't know. Yeah, I'm kind of with you. Although I don't hate it. And there's actually a clone here in Las Vegas that was at Vegas Auto Fest last year. A guy driving a car. I mean, it's almost identical to this one. It's the same color combo and everything. Doesn't have the same seats, but kind of a cool car in real life. Kris, do you think that that this is going to bring? I mean, well, let's talk about value. Let's go over to Deeb. Deeb, where do you think something like this is going to land?
So, JP, you remember our friend? Anyway, somebody brought one to us in Vegas and wanted us to kind of do like a PPI on the car because he wanted to buy it out of Beverly Hills, and he was a customer in Vegas. So I don't want to use names because I really don't remember if he bought the car or not. But I had to do some research on these cars, this model, a couple of years ago. I mean, there's only like a handful of them in the world. They're really, really rare and really collectible. So by that rationale, and what we see is that production numbers, more than anything else, really drive the values of collector Porsches. And this one ticks every kind of crazy box you can imagine, being a Turbo S and a slant nose at the same time. This is about as unicornish as it gets. Polar silver is not a common color, and it's really in favor with Porsche collectors. So I mean, this is the creme de la creme. So despite my bagging on whatever about having high miles and maybe some paint issues, by the numbers, this is probably 1 of 10 cars, and I think it's going to do well. So I still think this car is going to break $600,000. The question is whether or not that will be enough to find a home. In other words, will that meet reserve? So I'm going to say 600 grand, but I'm going to put a little winky face emoji that it fails to sell at my number. I think the consignor is probably looking for 650 or more, and I don't think this is going to get it here. So anyways, what do you think, Chris?
I honestly have no idea because
So
I don't
just
pay
shoot in the
attention
dark.
to.
Yeah.
I'll say reserve not met at 580.
Yeah,
I
that's
don't.
a great
I
take.
don't
That's
think
for somebody who doesn't know. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's a good looking car. If I have this kind of money and I want to buy a rare Porsche, it's not this one. I'll wait for something else to come up that just makes my eyes light up. Maybe somebody really likes it, but with the way that it looks, you're gonna have to find 2 guys that like how that thing looks. I'm
going to throw you a quick would you rather. If this car, like say the reserve's at 700 grand, at 700 grand, would you rather have this rare 964 or a Carrera GT?
I don't really want a Carrera GT at all, so I guess I would. If I have to, it's like, hey, do you want mashed potatoes or do you want broccoli? I'm like, can I
hate
have
vegetables.
something I like? Yeah, can I just have something I like?
I'll
in
have
the first
cheesecake. All right,
Does it
JP,
like
where
mashed
you at?
potatoes. I don't know. Where's it at now? Where's it sitting right now?
Sorry, John. I kind of rushed through this one. I apologize. I'm a little caffeinated this morning. So it is at, wrong car. Here we go. 420,000 with an hour to go out of Sholo, Arizona. Our car is sitting on, and this is relevant, just 14 bids.
Wow, that's not very many.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's a Porsche. It's on BAT, so it's going to get the late stage rally. I think it's going to get up there. What was your bid, Deeb? It was 6.
I said 600.
Yeah. This is a car that, again, it's so funny to say that this is a car that has high miles. I think it's just ridiculous that number is considered high, given that, I mean, I'm with you, Chris. I'm way more interested in driving a car than looking at it, and high miles do not bother me at all. I could care less about all the paint meter stuff, but I do think that the person who's going to drop this kind of coin does care about all that stuff, and the person that buys this car probably isn't going to drive it very much, if at all, which is sad because this car belongs on the road. I suspect that this car looks better in real life. I think these photos are fine. There's nothing. The photography is actually halfway decent on this car, but it certainly is. There's nothing romantic about these photos. And oh man, those chrome wheels are kind of killing me. I'm gonna see, one more time. Deeb, your number was 650.
600.
No, 600.
I was right there.
I'll go
600.
625. Yeah. I think it's going to make it, and I do think it'll actually sell because I don't think it's that is as rare as it is. It's not something that is super sought after, and that means the audience for it will be smaller. So,
like I said, I didn't even know that existed. So
yeah, really rare car.
And he's a Porsche expert. Like.
Absolutely.
Writes in the magazines. This one had the sticker. Didn't you do an article about this? It's got the 000 sticker on there. And I'm just kidding.
Does it really?
It does. Yeah, on the rear
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Extra 2.7%.
The license plate is fan of Kris. I thought that was talking about.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. Well, in that case, I
I'm
mean,
trying
the
to get you to
thing's
buy
go for
it,
at least $750.
Yeah, that'll do it. That'll do it for sure. All right.
Watch it go for 750. And Chris is like,
right. Damn it! You would have got a Yahtzee. Yeah. All right. So I actually meant to start with this other Porsche, but this one is fine. So let's go to the other side of the road here and talk about some electricity. What do we got here?
Okay. JP, if you saw my notes, can you pull up that other thing too to show us that I put in the on the Google Doc, Jason Camissa's Instagram post. So what we're looking at here for the audience at home is a 2020 Porsche Taycan 4S. Now I know we've covered 1 or 2 Teslas. I don't know that we've covered a Taycan, at least not one that I can remember, JP. This car is offered to us out of Staten Island. It's white with beige interior and has just 2,000 miles on the odometer. And while we can debate why a 2020 with 2,000 miles is coming to market, did the guy love it so much he ran out to go get a turbo, or did he go, oh, I hate my electric car. I can't stand this. I'm not ready for it. I just want to get out from underneath this terrible car. That can be debated. What we're looking at is a motor that is dual electric motors. It's all-wheel drive system. The transmission is a 1-speed on the front axle and a 2-speed on the rear axle. And again, that paint is Carrera white with a black and beige interior. So by all accounts, a brand new car in brand new condition. We don't really know the history, if this was a problematic car that somebody's trying to get out from underneath or just somebody wanted to walk away from it. But one thing that is probably at this point is not deniable. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but electric cars are here and we're going to have to deal with them. And JP, the reason why I sent you that link to show to our audience is Jason Camissa had the privilege of driving the new Tesla Plaid. And while the factory would not disclose to him a lot of data, they did let him drive the car. And John, if you could bring up his Instagram post at this moment, it's the point I'm trying to make here. Across the back of that, it says, what does it say, JP? Fuck what? Hell yeah.
I'm not sure.
What is a stupid steering
about.
wheel? Oh my God, it's so dumb.
I know, it's a stupid steering wheel. If you go to his first picture, JP, he's just saying that it is like a world beater. His take on this car is that this new Plaid, whenever it gets here, is so unbelievably fast. He said it pulls from 100 as fast as any normally aspirated or turbocharged car pulls to 30. And he said it just keeps going and going and going. He said every luxury car in existence is antiquated by how well this car rides and how fast it drives. And he said, just got to get used to it. So now that this Taycan comes to market,
hold on.
Yeah.
Who cares?
There you go. There you go.
It's 0 to 60 in 3.5 seconds. It's a Kia and it's 3.5 seconds. Who cares? This barometer doesn't matter anymore. It doesn't matter. Everything is fast.
There we go.
Everything's fast. Speed, power. It's a terrible barometer for this. Who cares? Nobody. Obviously, this guy that's selling this Taycan didn't care because he drove for 2,000 miles and whatever 0 to 60 times.
Yes.
He lost his ass on it, or he's trying to auction it for whatever. He doesn't care. It wasn't exciting enough that he kept it. He went, wow. He put it in a little sport mode, woo, with his wife, and his wife went, oh my God. And then he went, well, after the 7th time, it didn't impress her anymore. So now he's selling it on Cars and Bids. A brand new car, 2,000 miles on it, selling for $100,000, which is like $5,000 short of MSRP or whatever this thing is. This stuff is all boring. Who cares?
That's awesome. I love it. JP, I tried to sell electric cars for 2 minutes, and Kris almost kicking and screaming. It was like trying to bathe a cat. He was like, F this bullshit.
So dumb. I don't mind I don't mind electric cars, but this like, oh, they have 1,000 horsepower. The new Tuatara has 1,000 horsepower. They're gonna have 2,000 horsepower. The new M5's got this many thousands of horsepower. Yeah. Who cares? Who cares? It doesn't matter anymore. Everything is fast.
I love it.
Even a brand new Camry with a V6 engine is probably just as fast as my 911. It doesn't matter. I don't care. I do not care.
Awesome.
Why do you think everyone is pushing this 0 to 60 thing still? Is it just because
it's all that's left? What else are you going to push? The thing's fat. It's heavy. It weighs 9,000 pounds. Yeah. What else are you going to push? It's like a hungry man opening up the fridge and going, wow, the only thing in there is a moldy sandwich, but I haven't eaten in like 6 months, so I'm going to eat the frickin' sandwich. It's exactly what this is. We have these things that we're trying to like grab onto. It's the last vestiges of anything, and we're like, oh, I'm hungry. I'm going to eat this crappy 2.1 second 0 to 60 sandwich. That's all it is. There's nothing left. This is all we have. Everything's ruined. It's whatever.
Everything's ruined.
That's awesome.
Has Camissa driven the Taycan Turbo S?
Oh yeah. He took it out. JP, they gave him one in Marin, and he went to a high school and did donuts in the parking lot and filmed doing donuts in an electric car, which he said, I never thought I'd drive an electric car that could drift, but he was just doing these big circles.
Chris, have you driven one?
They have instant torque.
Yeah.
I've driven. So the only electric car I've driven is an e-Golf. So take that for what it's worth.
All right. Well, so your rant, I mean, I think philosophically,
I love it.
We definitely agree with you. But I will say, as someone who does not care about speed, I mean, I'm not the guy that wants to go triple digits, even though it's kind of fun sometimes. And I do like, I mean, who doesn't like going fast every now and then? I think the Turbo S version of this car is too fast for normal people. And it's not fun. It's so goddamn fast that you hit that thing and you're just like,
crazy.
Rrr. But I will say as well, though, They make that 2-wheel drive one, the base version of it. And, if you're going to do a sedan, if you're going to do the electric thing, there is a decided difference between the Porsche version and all the other ones. You get into one of these and you're going, okay, yeah, this is a Porsche. I get it. Kind of like a Cayenne is a better SUV than all the other SUVs, but it's still at the end of the day kind of an SUV. So, all right, it's a relative thing. If you're a normie, if you live in the normal world where you drive somewhere to work, you go there, you do a thing, and then you drive home, God, how can you argue against an electric vehicle for your daily driver? It's pretty tough.
Oh, absolutely.
Never stopping at a fuel tank, gas station.
I would love to own an electric car.
Yeah,
I would love to. But they're all $1 million right now. The price needs to come down.
Well,
it's outrageous right now.
On this one here with 2,000 miles, our MSRP was $129,000, and our car has an hour and 10 minutes to go. It's got 18 bids, and it's at $99,999. So it's 30 grand away from original MSRP on a used Taycan. And I'm telling you, when these first cars came in the door and I was at God and Porsche, we were all going, oh my God, like these cars are going to be littered all over the parking lots as used cars that have lost a tremendous amount of value. This price that's currently here seems to be way over market value in what I would assume the value is of this car. So I'm shocked at how well these are doing in this market.
Where's it going to land?
I guess you have to look at is it possible to go buy one? Can you go buy a used one at the dealer right now?
I believe you can.
Yeah. Who knows?
Yeah, it's crazy. The used car market right now doesn't subscribe to reason at all.
Yeah.
So I had put $100,000 last night when it was at 95. I'm going to have to change my bid. And just reading the tea leaves, I'm just going to put another 12 grand on here and say $112,000 to you, Kris. Where do you think this toaster is going to land?
I'm going to say 108.
108, very good.
Yeah, 108. That's where I'm at.
What was the MSRP on this? 135?
129.
Oh, 129. Yeah, I mean, despite the absolutely embarrassing and frankly just unacceptable photos. I mean, this is Doug DeMuro's. Dang it, man, his site. I want to love Cars and Bids because I really do love Doug DeMuro and his whole, I love that he's out there making content and everything like that. But this top-down, this just who cares about aesthetics thing that goes into his site, the fact that he allows a picture of a $100,000 car with a dumpster with graffiti on the background, this is just, come on, man, what are you doing? Hire somebody. If you're going to sell a 6-figure car, pay somebody, $500 to go take some really solid photos of the car that deserves it. This is just not good. This sucks, and it makes me angry.
Oh my God! Look at some of these pictures. They're
just
brutal.
So bad, right?
Brutal.
So that said, though, you can't go to a dealership and get one of these. They are not available. It's only got 2,000 miles. So I say MSRP plus. If this were on BAT or any other platform, I think it would be MSRP plus at least 10%. I think it's wow. This guy would have been better off selling this on Craigslist or Marketplace or Auto Trader because there are people searching for this car right now, and he would find a buyer that would pay him 10% over MSRP because you can't get a new one. Whereas on Cars and Bids, I think it's going to, it's just embarrassing. So I think this car is going to be slightly under MSRP. I'm going to say 129. And say that the person is leaving money on the table by selling it on this platform. Bad move.
I have one guy telling me you can buy these at the dealership, and now I've heard one guy say you can't. If you can't, then then it's worth all of its MSRP. If you can't buy them.
Not in this
JP, if this car gets to within 2% of MSRP, then I suspect we will see a lot of Taycans come to the auction sites. All of them, like they're just going to start. They're going to arrive, just like we're seeing that old Mustang Cobra R. There's another one that just came on, and that's because that other one sold for $100,000. So, all right,
I don't know, man. I mean, the people that have these like them and don't. I mean, if you buy this car, you're an electric car person. What are you going to replace it with? You going to go get another one? I mean, there's nothing new. The Plaid, who gives a crap? I mean, like Kris said, I mean, it's like you've got the best electric car there is. I can't imagine saying, "Oh, I'm going to go get the Audi version or something," because you're going to pay all the money for that too. Anyway, sorry. Let's move on to the next thing.
All right. Do you want to do the other Porsche while we're rolling Porsches?
Let's do all the Porsches. We're rolling hard on the Porsches.
Yeah.
All right.
So P-Car Market has a 2014 Porsche 911. This is the 50th anniversary edition with just 9,000 miles. I will start by saying I'm sad that this car has a PDK and not the manual transmission. The other thing that really drives me nuts is that one of the features that this car had that I thought was so cool were the Pepita seat inserts. And the guy who ordered this car ordered his in black with just black leather seats. And I feel like that's kind of a bummer that doesn't have the Pepita seats. But the 50th anniversary has the GTS motor. It's the X51 power kit. Brings power up to 430 horsepower while it makes 325 pound-foot of torque. My first Porsche was a 911 GT3 and 997 Mark II, and my motor was basically the same specs as this. So although it's not the Metzger engine, the power is very similar to a GT3 of the previous generation. These are great cars, and people have been paying a premium for them ever since they came out. Take a look at the
How great
Fuchs.
could it be if the guy only drove it 1,200 miles a year?
Seriously. Take a look at the Fuchs wheels. Take a look at the original 911 green-faced gauges to look like the 911, what do you call it? The long hoods from the 1960s. There are neat features. Yeah, there's neat features on this car, and I've been a fanboy ever since. They came in 3 colors. I can't remember the name of the name of the dark gray paintway, but that was my favorite of the 3. I didn't like the eggnog. I'm not a big fan of the black one, but that dark gray did it for me. I've wanted one for a while. This is a nice one. It does have a PDK, and the market on coupes has been going crazy. So, JP, our car is at $86,000. We've got about 3 hours to go, and yet it's on P-Car Market. Do we think this car has a chance to bring the value that these cars should be bringing? So, Chris, what do you think? Any experience with these 991s?
I've driven a 991. I look at this car and I go, wow, it's one of 1900. So you would think it would be a future collectible, but it won't, because you're going to be a pariah for driving this thing in 15 to 20 years. So if you're buying this car as a future classic, yeah, I would think otherwise. And like I said, 1,200 miles a year, the car couldn't have been that great, especially if the dude's in Cincinnati. This car is really, really close to like some of the really good driving roads in southeastern Ohio into West Virginia. It's incredible driving out there. This guy, either he's got a better car or he doesn't like driving. I don't know. I don't understand it.
Well, explain to us, what do you mean by you're going to be a pariah driving this car in 20 years?
In 2030, they're not going to be allowed to sell combustion engine cars. It becomes the point where it almost becomes rebellious in nature to continue to drive combustion engine cars in 10, 15 years. So in 15 or 20 years, this car is just, is anybody going to want to drive it except for the few people that are holding on to the vestiges of, what's past? I mean, who are these people going to be? Why would this car be considered valuable? Why would it increase in value if all of this stuff is going to become regulated into the ground? Gas is going to be expensive. If you live in Cincinnati, I'm sure there's or any city really, there's a loop that goes around the city. Are you going to be able to even drive? Can you pick your wife up? Can you go to dinner in the car? Are you going to be allowed to drive it in certain areas like in Europe where you can't? You got to pay like exorbitant fees to be able to drive in the inner city. Are you even going to be able to drive in Paris and Rome? All these different things. As time goes on, it's not going to be illegal to drive this car, but it will become less tenable to drive the car. Just cost, social pariahship or whatever you would call it. I just don't think in 15, 20 years this is going to be something that people are going to be pining for. Maybe a car like that slant nose that we had earlier could be, because it's so unique and so special, and it's like a real statement piece, and it's old, right? Right. The cars that are made now might be seen as like, well, why didn't you just buy an electric car? You could have bought one. What kind of person are you? Yeah. If you drive an old car, everybody loves those, right? I show up to somewhere in my old car, but it's like, oh, that's great. They don't think that it's some like pollution machine. New cars are like pollution machines to everybody.
Yeah.
Imagine that sentiment in 20 years. I don't know.
Yeah, it's not going to get any better, that's for sure. This car is just modern enough to have a lot of whiz-bang features, but it's not modern enough to be able to connect to the grid and autonomously, once you get in that inner circle like you're talking about in Cincinnati, then all of a sudden, okay, it goes onto self mode, and all the interconnected pods are not bumping into one another because, safety for kids. These cars, 991s as a driver car with a manual, are freaking awesome. Like Deeb says, the GT3 of the previous generation. It's not as good as a 997 GT3 by any means. I have one. I have a 991 S with a manual, and it's the closest thing to a 997 GT3 I've ever driven. And I absolutely love that car. Would I prefer it over an air-cooled car that has a quarter of the horsepower? Heck no. I definitely prefer the air-cooled stuff. But it's nice to be able to get into a modern 911 or any modern Porsche, including the electric stuff, and go rip around. It does suck that you wind up in felonious speeds when you're trying to have fun, and I think that's kind of the better part of the older cars. Look, this car, PDK, it's just not special enough. It's 50th anniversary, blah 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 blah.
Just make it a manual only. Hey, it's 50 years ago. This thing is going to be. We're going to make it like that, and you can just drive a manual, or you can GTFO. I don't understand why. I mean, you got to keep in mind they have how many different versions of a 911 can you buy now?
Oh my God, there's 16 different versions on the same platform.
That's what it's all about, is selling as many different versions as possible to many.
Too diversified,
yeah, it's too much.
Manuals are king. I think you're right. That's a good distinction too, because do you think the manual transmission would allow you to not be a pariah, kind of like the old version of an antique Porsche, which is what it'll be considered by then? Would the manual save you from that pariahness? Because people are like, it's got a stick and 3 pedals.
No, they don't care.
And then on top of that, this particular generation with manuals are not manuals. They're actually PDKs. They're just fake clutch pedals. So, it's still, it feels like
I'm not a good enough driver for anything like this. This stuff needs to have a PDK for me. I've driven a GT2 RS, that and a manual, I wouldn't be here today.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't be here. So PDK is great for the new stuff. I don't mind it.
I have driven both the last 2 versions of the GT2s, and of course the RS recent one was only PDK, and the 997 GT2 RS only in a manual, and that thing is freaking terrifying, even though it's not quite as fast as the newer one, but way more fun. But all right, well, look, where do we think this car is going to land? There is bonkers land going on. Whether or not it's going to be a collectible in 20 years, I don't think really matters at the moment, because the perceived value is that
oh my God, it's crazy,
now.
JP.
Yeah, where is this car going to land right now, Deeb?
Interesting build, right? Because I knock it for not having the Pepita seats, which are so special. And he could have got them for free, and he just decided not to get them. If you had a regular 911 build and you wanted to make Pepita seats, it's like $12,000. So I just don't understand why he forego the Pepita seats. It is a slick roof. This is a car that was offered with no sunroof, and he did that. I commend him on that. But then no wiper. If you're going with the throwback, I would definitely throw the wiper on there. But a slick roof with the X51 package and under 10,000 miles, PDK be damned. This is still a neat little car. It's at $85,000. JP, if P car market can come through, this car should bring $112,000 or more. So I'm going to say 112 to Kris.
I'm going to price this right and say 110. I think you're pretty close. I think it has what, 9,000 adjustable seats I saw in the description.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's obviously going to increase the value exponentially.
Okay. So what was your number, Deeb? I'm sorry.
112.
112. Yeah, I'm going to go the over. I'm going to say 115 and say it could get to $120. I think P-Car will find the person for this, because it's not honestly, because it's a PDK. I mean, I think if it's a manual, it's worth more. But the person that wants this, I hate to say it, doesn't really want a manual.
Pepita and manual with no sunroof. This is a $130,000 car. Easy.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, probably.
Amazing build. Yeah. All right, amazing build in a bad way. All right, let's rip through these last couple cars. We're going a little long, guys. We got to let Kris get back to the world. So what else we got, Deeb?
It's 4 p.m. in Minnesota by the time the show's over. It's 1998 Toyota Rav4 from Calgary, Alberta, Canada, with 117,000 miles. The big thing here, JP, we love our friends at Rad For Sale. But guys, what are we doing here? You guys are selling a Canadian RAV4 with 120,000 miles on it that is not eligible for import into the U.S. Who is going to bid on this car? This car's sitting at $2,000 on just 2 bids, I think. 4 bids. 4 bids at $2,000. This car's not worth any money, and nobody would, like, if it's a $4,000 or $5,000 car, who's going to spend the $6,000 to bring it across? And it's not eligible to be brought across. So what are they doing? I just don't understand.
It's also a car that nobody wants.
Yeah,
just buy a Suzuki Samurai if you want something like this.
I get that this lot is cool because it's a 2-seat 4-wheel drive with a manual, and it's in the spirit of occasion that they preach about with regards to Radwood. But like, if you're going to bring a car that is almost impossible to bring in, it's like cost prohibitive to bring across. Why are, like, at the very least, there should be a no reserve auction. Can you believe, JP, this auction has a reserve?
Deeb, you're gonna have to explain what you're talking about. What do you mean you can't bring it in?
Well, so a car that is 25 years or older can be brought into the U.S. on a 25-year exemption. In other words, it doesn't. You get to just bring it in for the import fees. But a car that's not has to be federalized, and it's a much more expensive and much more involved process to the point where nobody does it. I mean, it's very rare that somebody brings a car into the U.S. that wasn't sold in the U.S. originally because there's so many tariffs and hoops you have to jump through with the domestic, the DOT and a few other agencies that have to answer.
They didn't even want to do it with a 959.
Yeah. So
is it confirmed that this car was not in America in the first place?
That is, I can say no, but it's in Canada now. So I still think you'd have to bring it in.
That is the possibility. If it was sold in America originally and then imported to Canada, you could bring it back. You can bring it back in. So that's the big question. If that's not really clear in the ad, then yeah, that's going to be a problem to sell it. But
it's not mentioned in the ad, and very little is the Rav4. No, the Rav4 was sold new in Alberta, Canada, where it remained and carries a Carfax with a Canadian title. I don't think it's impossible that this car is going to see a road in the United States. Financially, it doesn't make any sense. It's not worth it.
It's not rad enough.
Yeah, and it's too young. So it's really weird. And then again, that this is a reserve auction. I don't think this car has a chance in hell. So, Kris, I'm going to just skip to the chase in the spirit of expediency. Our car's at $2,000 on 4 bids. I don't think it's going to get another bid. My bid to you is $2,000. I don't think this lot is going anywhere, and I don't understand why they let it on. At least it should have been a no reserve auction.
Yeah, there's just not enough information. As a guy that even if I was interested in this, I look at this ad and go, okay, can I import it? Can I not import it? I saw in the comments someone asked if they could. There was no response. Yeah, I'm with you. I think it's DOA right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's sad, and that's also kind of surprising that isn't addressed, especially if someone's asking about it in the comments. That's probably going to be the number one objection, being from Canada. So, I wonder what's going on. We'll have to get Lane or Warren in to explain that one. We have given them a hard time on stuff before, like crooked license plates that we found out is a thing by millennials.
I ate so much crow.
Did you know about that trend, Kris? That a crooked license plate frame on an old JDM car is a thing now? That the kids do that on purpose?
Yeah, I used to see it like Frenched into the trunk where it would be like, molded in and bodied in and everything like that. But I haven't heard about doing it on purpose.
Hanging off the front bumper tilted gives you more bars.
Yeah.
Oh, is it like sticking your foot underneath the stall at the airport? I don't understand.
I don't either. Yeah.
That is probably the secret sauce. All right. Deeb, you said your number was what? DOA? You're not going another bid?
Yeah, I'm going to say it just stays there at $2,000. Why don't we give Kris one bid at $2,100? And where are you at, JP?
I'm going to say this thing figures something out, and I'm going to go $3,000. I think at some point that people love these things enough, and this one's just weird enough, and I think someone's going to figure out a way to get it into it.
I think Kris is going to win this one for whatever reason. Somebody's going to bid again, but it's not going to $3,000. All right, our last car, JP, is a car I was kind of a fanboy of back in the year 2000. This is a 2000 Honda Civic Si. This has got the little 1.6-liter VTEC inline 4 with the 5-speed manual. These little front-wheel drive cars were considered just pocket rockets back in period. The whole reason I picked this one, JP, out of Eugene, Oregon, with just 46,000 miles in, I'd say, slightly more rare black. I remember a ton of these were that electric blue metallic. Yes. But this private party example out of Eugene, Oregon, John, with 4 hours to go, take a look. It's already up to $23,000.
No fart can.
I think that's more than the original MSRP. I mean, that's a lot of money for this car. I don't understand. I get that the Hondas are more collectible than all the other brands, but at $23,000, are we serious right now? Kris,
totally
what's
serious.
going on here? Yeah,
100%.
What is going on?
Every single one of these cars was destroyed. It was absolutely destroyed. It was stolen. Or it had like 60 fart can variations put on it. It was lowered with like terrible wheels. and they were bombed around because they weren't worth anything for a while.
Right.
They were pretty cheap. So then you have a bunch of kids buying them because they were cheap, because they wanted to go street racing or pretend that they were going to go street racing, and they all got ruined. They all got destroyed. So a clean example like this is, I don't have the link, so I can't see the photos up close, but it looks really, really clean and unmolested, and that's the key for this.
It's bone stock. The only mod I could see was a strut tower bracelet. Didn't come from the factory. I don't know that
killer.
I think the black has got to be one of the rarer colors produced. And the seats look like they're in really nice. Those cloth seats with kind of that like 90s pattern on them are really good looking. But again, 46,000 miles is low miles, but it's not like unused miles. So this number still is surprising me. I mean, it's not an Integra Type R. It's a Civic Si.
Even the engine.
Find another one. I've
exactly.
never seen one that I can remember that's not as like unmolested as this.
Not since 1995 have we seen one this clean.
Yeah.
Look, you say more than MSRP, but if you factor in inflation, is it? What was the factory number? How much was this at MSRP then? It was probably
that's a good question.
21 grand or something like that. But 21 grand in 1994 dollars compared to today, it's a lot more. I mean, this would be, if this were a brand new car, a brand new Civic that you can still get a brand new Civic, whatever their top version of it is what, a $40-something thousand car? Are we talking almost 50?
This car was 17 grand in 2000.
Okay, so I mean, if you take this car and fast forward to 2021, the new version of it is going to, it's going to be at least twice as much as that. So saying that $23,000 is a lot, of course, is especially for guys our age, looking at this thing going, wow, we used to be able to get these for $3 or $4 grand all day long. But you're right, Chris, they've all been roached, every single one of them. So this is unicorny. I just found
everybody that is this age that was looking at those when they were 15, 16, 17 years old. They all got real jobs. They all got money. They don't give a shit. They want one. They always wanted one. And here's one that nobody's destroyed. So this is a cool car.
So what's your number, Deeb?
JP, we have so much fun with BAT because some of the handles and some of the comments are hilarious. The Birdman 21 puts a comment on this lot that says, this car would be perfect for race wars, but I'm not sure I could take Hector, though. He's got spoon engines.
You can always get one by tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. Anyways, I just thought that was great as a huge fan of the Furious. So, JP, I'm going to say 28,000. I don't think this car breaks 30, but I think you guys value it more than I do. And I love Hondas. I'm a huge Honda head. So I don't know. At 28 grand seems like a ton of money for a 50,000 mile SI.
Chris, what do you think?
I'm going to go 29.
Nice.
I think it's going to go for more.
Yeah, Chris is good at this. He's good. He's a natural.
I'm following his lead. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to say 30. I think this breaks 30 without a problem. I think it goes into the 30s. Yeah, this is
you guys.
Just
you guys.
Such a rare bird, and it is pretty. And this is a car that I would love to own. I wouldn't pay $30,000 for it, but I think someone absolutely would.
I would like someone else to do that so that I could look at it. Whatever.
And look good. Yeah.
Oh man,
all right,
guys!
Quick question for Chris. Chris, is that Adam Carolla's car behind you on the wall?
It is. Yeah, I shot that picture at Luft. Yeah, I wrote an article for Panorama on that car.
Yeah, JP and I were there, and then JP's become friends with Carolla. They hang out on TV and stuff. That's a nice shot.
He's a pretty nice guy. He's a pretty nice. He was very generous with his time with me.
That's awesome.
And he didn't have to be. So.
Oh, that shot looks really sick behind you. It's a great backdrop. Thanks so much for coming on, man. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I appreciate it, guys.
He's
it was fun, and I had a good time.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, make sure you hit the subscribe, like, and notification button like we told you already. Also, go over to the platforms. Go over to Cars and Bids, Bring a Trailer, P-Car Market, and mention on the comments below the cars that we spoke about today that you saw those cars on Bid Nerds on YouTube. Let people know that Bid Nerds exists. If you're someone who reads the comments on any of those auction sites, you are a nerd just like us, and you should be listening to us while you're digging through those ads yourself. So come on over, spread the word, let other nerds know that there's a whole community of nerds, maybe like 4 or 5 of us, all listening to the show every single day. So we really do appreciate you guys for watching. And Chris, it's super awesome having you here. I hope you join us again.
Thank you. Happy to.
Excellent. All right. Well, we will definitely bring you back. Make sure you guys go out to Pluto TV. Speaking of Adam Carolla and that Hawaiian Carpet car behind you.
How about that for a segue?
Yeah, you can go ahead and look on his channel. Adam Carolla has a channel on Pluto TV. If you don't already know, it's called Chassis TV. And on the Chassis Network, you can see yours truly in a television show called Porsche Road Trip that is available now for binge watching. You can watch all 8 episodes on Pluto TV, or you can catch us whenever the heck we're on. Don't ask me. I don't know. They play it all the time. I have no idea what our actual time slot is, but check your local listings, as they used to say. So again, thanks for joining us. Kris, you're awesome. Michael Deeb, thank you. We will see you guys tomorrow. Anything you guys want to plug before we go?
Check out
Kris?
the podcast, Overcrest Productions, and
There we
have
go.
a big rally coming on this year too. So if you'd like to,
Oh yeah, when's your rally? When's your rally?
Yeah.
End of September. End of September.
Ooh.
Yeah,
It's
we're
not
going to
sold out?
Southern Utah. We're screwed. Yeah, we have a lot of applications, so it's going to be tough to sift through everything.
It's going to be tough to get through
Are
everybody.
there
we've-
are there any qualifications or spirit of occasion, as they say, for your rally, or is it run what you brung?
It's a little bit like I want to. One of the parts in our application process is why do you want to come? Why do you want to be there? And that's more important to me, I think, than the car. But from what I can tell, people are bringing something with that sense of occasion.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Hey, are you going to go to Luftgalt in Indianapolis?
I'll be there. Yeah, I got
All right.
my. As soon as I saw it, I'm like, boom, Airbnb done. Right, like I'm like a block away, and it's honestly that's a 1-day drive from my house for once, so I'll be there.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah,
Oh,
that
yeah.
makes it really.
Yeah, come hang out, come find me.
We'll find you there. All right, guys, check out Overcrest and all the other things. We will see you tomorrow.